Army on edge. What are Jungkook and Jimin really planning? The alarming silence behind the craze that's gripping the world the moment Jimin's plane touched down in the same city where Jungkook had just been spotted. Chaos erupted. No fanfare, no prior announcement, no schedule released. Just one arrival, one coincidence too close to ignore. Within minutes, Jikook World Tour stormed into global trending territory on X, formerly Twitter, inciting a whirlwind of speculation, disbelief, and mounting tension among BTS's massive global fandom. Was this an accidental overlap, or was something much bigger quietly unfolding beneath the surface? What followed wasn't confusion, it was calculated hysteria. And behind that hysteria lay the growing suspicion that ARMY had just witnessed the opening move of something monumental. Images began circulating of Jimin, allegedly seen disembarking from a private terminal, mere blocks away from where Jungkook had been photographed leaving a recording studio just days prior. Though no statements were issued, and no agency confirmed any official collaboration, the timing was too precise. The silence was too deafening. And ARMY, a fandom trained in decoding the unsaid, wasn't buying coincidence anymore. This wasn't just a visit. This was movement. The sudden eruption of theories wasn't random, it was instinctive. These two artists, both born in 1997, with more than a decade of shared history, have always captivated fans, not only for their musical chemistry but for the quiet, emotional rhythm that seems to pulse beneath every interaction. It's no longer about subtext, it's about patterns. And those patterns now point toward one seismic possibility. Jimin and Jungkook are planning something fans have long dreamed of but never dared to believe would materialize: an emotionally raw, artistically rich, and globally scaled duo tour to dream? Perhaps. But dreams don't trend worldwide in under 10 minutes without fuel. The theory gained dangerous traction when footage emerged of a familiar black van, one frequently associated with high-profile artist transport, pulling up outside a boutique hotel known for its discretion and luxury. The kind of place where projects are conceived in silence and launched in spectacle. Soon after, a low-quality audio clip allegedly featuring Jimin's voice surfaced briefly online before vanishing. It was deleted in under 5 minutes, but the damage was done. ARMY was already piecing together a puzzle that many believe has been slowly forming since the debut of their reality series. Are you sure? Every episode of the show served less as entertainment and more as a whisper of intention. The cinematography was subtle. The dialogue was gentle. But between those moments, Jimin sketching on a canoe while Jungkook silently watched, or the marshmallows tucked quietly into a backpack, fans saw something else, a rehearsal. Not just for a show, for something real. Why now? Why the secrecy? Why the van, the terminal, the silence? Industry insiders refuse to comment. But those who have observed the patterns of K-pop for years know the signs. This isn't a PR stunt. It's too quiet. It's too raw. It's too personal. And when the machinery of K-pop begins turning behind closed doors, without the usual noise, it's often because something is being constructed that transcends charts and hashtags. That is what makes this moment uniquely alarming. HYB's silence has only accelerated the anxiety. The agency, long known for its timing and precision, has neither confirmed nor denied the swirling theories. And that inaction, in this context, has done more to escalate panic than any confirmation ever could. ARMY knows the playbook. This is not just a pause. This is strategy. This is the eye of a storm, and fans are bracing for what follows. Speculation has surged into something more organized. Fan bases are mapping potential tour stops: Tokyo, Seoul, Los Angeles, and quietly fundraising. Projections are no longer wishful thinking. Spreadsheets are being built. Marketing strategies are unofficially discussed in online forums. Support materials, fan installations, billboard placements, and digital campaigns are being constructed not for if, but when the announcement comes, and at the heart of it all, Two artists who have always chosen subtlety over spectacle seem to be preparing for their boldest statement yet. What exactly are they planning? Fans believe they already know. The delayed release of Jimin's Muse album, the end of Jungkook's formal promotional commitments, the timing, the silence. Everything points to one trajectory, a secret project so intimate, so emotionally calibrated, that it demands a stage all its own. Not for the stadium, for the soul. This is not just about music anymore. This is about legacy. ARMY is not reacting to a press release. They're reacting to energy, to movement, to patterns. And the sense now, more than ever, is that Jimin and Jungkook are attempting to take ownership of their own narrative, one that has for too long been shaped by schedules, structures, and public pressure. This time, the story seems to be theirs. The deeper this theory goes, the more sinister the silence feels. A fandom that has seen everything is now dealing with something it's never truly experienced before. A mystery playing out in real time, with two of their most emotionally attuned members walking the line between private and public with unnerving precision. Every movement is documented. Every outfit is analyzed. Every absence is felt. And what makes this moment unbearable for fans is the sheer deliberateness of it all. If Jimin and Jungkook are indeed preparing a world tour together, a highly selective, emotionally driven, performance-based journey that encapsulates not only their musical alignment, but their personal evolution, it will redefine not just what a BTS subunit can be, but what a K-pop act can be when it is allowed to be fully humaned. ARMY has noticed the clues. The timing, the subtle exchange of smiles, the coordinated disappearances, the matching flight schedules, even the smallest elements. Jimin holding a travel journal, Jungkook wearing a familiar bracelet, are being dissected as breadcrumbs in a trail that leads towards something seismic. Some believe they've already begun rehearsing in private. Others are convinced this is a public beta test. Using "Are you sure?" to gauge emotional resonance. Some speculate this is the final bridge between solo artistry and group comeback, offering the most honest expression of their identities before BTS returns in full in 2026. All possibilities point to a single conclusion. Something is coming, but it isn't the size of the tour that matters. It's the intention. One popular podcast host, a respected cultural analyst in South Korea, recently stated, "This isn't about headcount. It's about heart." That sentiment has resonated globally. ARMY isn't asking for lights and fireworks. They're asking for truth. From Seoul to Sao Paulo, banners are being printed. Fans are organizing art campaigns, audio tributes, projection installations, even planning citywide flash mobs. One viral post summed up the moment best. "If this is happening, we will meet them at every airport, in every language, with every ounce of love we've been saving since 2013. The emotional stakes are higher than they've ever been. Older fans see this as a culmination of over a decade of shared emotional journey. Younger fans, many of whom came of age during BTS's global explosion, view this as a rare and precious moment of connection. But what binds them all is the feeling that what Jungkook and Jimin may be building is not just a concert series. It is a reckoning, a cathartic, vulnerable, unscripted moment where two voices stand in the same spotlight, not as idols, but as survivors of a system now bending to their truth. The emotional toll of this weight is not performative. It's real. Fans are not simply excited. They are anxious. They are fearful. And most of all, they are ready. What comes next could shake the industry. Not because of scale, but because of sincerity, and no one knows where this leads. But if the final scene of "Are you sure?" is any indication, a quiet, unspoken gaze across a campfire, it may not be the beginning of a performance. It may be the beginning of something much harder to orchestrate. Something earned. Fans believe that when Jimin and Jungkook finally step onto that stage together, it won't just be music echoing through the arena. It will be a decade of unsaid words, uncried tears, and unwavering faith turned into sound. into light, into history. Until then, the world waits and watches, because silence, in this context, is no longer absence, it's a promise. As the digital dust continues to swirl around the speculative storm of a potential Jikook world tour, the atmosphere within the global BTS fandom has grown increasingly volatile. The sightings, the timing, the silences, they all appear deliberate. But now, in the cold scrutiny of reason, we must pause. We must ask the question that no one dares voice out loud. Is this truly happening? Or are we witnessing the greatest case of media manipulation in K-pop fandom history? At the heart of this unfolding drama lies an uncomfortable but essential truth. None of the information currently circulating has been officially confirmed. Every video, every photograph, every voice clip, and every so-called insider leak has been disseminated through platforms known not for verified journalism, but for virality: TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. While these platforms undeniably possess the power to shape narratives and inspire movements, they are also fertile ground for distortion, fabrication, and the rapid spread of disinformation. And so we must ask, are we witnessing the makings of an artistic milestone, or are we becoming participants in an elaborate spectacle designed not by artists, but by algorithms and emotional manipulation? Fans across the globe have interpreted each nonverbal interaction between Jungkook and Jimin as coded. Language, the overlapping schedules, the silent airport arrivals, the deleted clips, all have been elevated to the status of proof by an audience desperate for certainty. But does proximity imply purpose? Can silence be equated to strategy? Is our interpretation grounded in truth? Or are we, perhaps unknowingly, projecting our desires onto a blank canvas? Let us reflect further. The concept of a Jikook duo tour taps into the deepest emotional reservoirs of the BTS fandom. This is not merely about the potential of two musicians collaborating. It is about meaning, legacy, closure, continuity. It is, at its core, about the longing for something authentic in a world saturated by curated image and corporate narrative. And that is precisely what makes this phenomenon both powerful and dangerous. When a community becomes emotionally invested in a speculative future, that future begins to feel real. But feelings are not facts. Theories are not truths. And patterns can be illusions. How do we differentiate between what is true and what merely appears to be? How can we verify intentions behind actions that have not been publicly acknowledged? Do we risk undermining the very integrity of Jungkook and Jimin's artistry by forcing it into a frame they never consented to? More pressingly, how do we ensure that we are not, in our collective fervor, perpetuating a cycle of sensationalism that ultimately harms the very artists we claim to support? One must consider the nature of the information itself. Audio clips removed within minutes. Photos taken at suspicious angles. Alleged fan sightings reported only by fan accounts. No direct quotes. No documentación. No verifiable source material. This is not journalism. This is narrative building powered by collective anticipation. We believe that global icons like Jimin and Jungkook, whose schedules are meticulously managed, whose movements are monitored for security, could accidentally incite such a firestorm without intent? Or have we, as a fandom, reached a point where absence of information is seen as evidence in itself? Let us examine our own behavior. We dissect hat colors, journal covers, body language. We interpret silence as confirmation. We treat coincidences as conspiracies. But in doing so, do we risk losing the capacity for critical thought? Have we been conditioned to replace reflection with reaction? If this tour is real, if Jikook are indeed preparing a project of the magnitude fans are envisioning, it deserves to be welcomed with clarity and authenticity. It should not be born from chaos, misinterpretation, or premature declarations. And if it is not real, if these are merely dreams constructed from the raw emotional scaffolding of ARMY's love, it must be said plainly. We are allowing ourselves to be deceived, Is it possible that this phenomenon, as moving as it is rooted not in fact but in collective fiction? Is the silence of hybe an intentional strategy? Or is it simply a non-response to something that was never planned? And more importantly, who truly benefits from this frenzy? Is it the artists, whose every move is now overanalyzed? Is it the fans, whose hopes may ultimately collapse into disillusionment? Or is it the algorithms, the unseen forces of platform dynamics that thrive on controversy, speculation, and emotional engagement? This is not an accusation. It is a necessary interrogation, because what is being shaped now is not only a potential tour, it is a precedent. If unverified speculation can generate this level of global attention, what stops the next wave of misinformation from escalating further? How do we protect the truth in an environment where emotion is constantly weaponized for clicks and engagement? We must ask the harder questions. Have we become complicit in our own manipulation? Are we consuming content critically or emotionally? Are we honoring Jimin and Jungkook by seeking truth? Or are we reducing them to vessels for our own fantasies? At what point does fan devotion become fan delusion? The importance of skepticism cannot be overstated. In an era of instant gratification and content overload, the most responsible act is often to pause, to resist the urge to amplify what has not been verified, to reflect before reacting, to consider the motivations behind the narratives we consume, and contribute to. It is tempting, of course, to believe. The idea of a Jikook World Tour is profoundly compelling. It offers catharsis, continuity, and connection. But belief without evidence can be dangerous. It can lead to disappointment, to disillusionment, and, in some cases, to damage. What happens when August ends and no tour is announced? What happens if the van sighting was unrelated? If the deleted audio clip was a misinterpretation? If the reality show was never intended as a precursor, but simply a standalone exploration of friendship? We must be prepared to face that possibility. To question everything is not to disrespect the artists. It is to respect them more, by refusing to fabricate stories in their name, by giving them the space to speak for themselves, by not turning silence into noise for our own comfort. And so, we turn the question outward, to you, the reader, the fan, the observer. Do you believe this is real? Or do you believe we are being drawn into a story crafted not by intention, but by interpretation? Are you seeking truth or seeking meaning? And are those two things, in this case, the same? We urge you to reflect critically. Do not simply accept narratives as they appear on your feed. Trace the sources. Ask who benefits. Ask who confirms. Demand clarity. And most importantly, protect your emotional investment by refusing to build it upon a foundation of uncertainty. This is not just a fandom issue. It is a media literacy issue. It is a cultural responsibility. We owe it to ourselves and to the artists we admire to be better stewards of information, as the world waits, as trends rise and disappear, and as theories multiply. Remember, speculation is not truth. Hopes are not headlines. And not everything that captivates is necessarily real. This may be a moment of transformation, or it may be a mirage. But the decision to believe or to question rests with you. The world is watching. So ask yourself again, with all sincerity, what do you really believe is happening here? And more importantly, why do you believe it?